Breaking news at noon as Iran launches retaliatory missile attacks on U.S. military base, and an ATM smash and grab in Happy Valley. A thief uses an excavator to rip out an ATM and steal cash. Plus,
we want you to be safe, protecting both people, property, and certainly our natural landscapes.
The message from fire officials ahead of the 4th of July holiday. And the NBA draft is a little over 48 hours away. We look at the potential pick for the Blazers in the first round. Good afternoon, I'm China Green. We start with breaking news in the Middle East, where Iran has launched a retaliatory missile attack after the U.S. bombed its nuclear sites. Today's attack was on an American military base in Qatar. Video shows missiles being intercepted here. Qatar condemned the attack and said its airspace is now safe. Iran announced the attack on state television as martial music played. The caption on the screen called it a mighty and successful response to America's aggression.
This seems to be a relatively limited response by Iran. It seems to be a response that Iran would have known would be largely unsuccessful. It is firing at a very hard target, one of the hardest targets in the Middle East, something that is far away from other civilian centers. The Iranians going out of their way to say that they didn't target the people of the brotherly nation of Qatar. They just fired on the Americans. They made a direct parallel to what the Americans did to Iran, saying that they fired the same number of missiles that the U.S. fired at the nuclear facilities at the Al-Udeid base. There are reports of sirens. Bahrain, they did have sirens that went off. There are reports of other bases on high alert. But we only know at this stage of Al-Udeid coming under a direct attack. But when you look at it, it does seem like this was a response that Iran would probably know would be unsuccessful. And it appears that it was unsuccessful.
The Pentagon said in a statement that it's monitoring the situation and there are no reports of any deaths. And here locally, members of Congress have already made their stance known on the United States' involvement in foreign conflict, and people have already taken to the streets to make their voices heard. Celine Stevens has a story.
This is a moment where this cycle of escalation can take us to a very terrible place.
President Trump's decision to strike 3 Iranian nuclear facilities led to outcry across the country and here locally.
Trump ran on no war, no war, no war. What about now?
We believe, like the majority of Americans, do not want a war with Iran and want our tax dollars to improve the lives of Americans here.
I think the bottom line is people really do not want war. They want peace.
The U.S. joining in on the attack initially launched by Israel after they claimed Iran was close to building a nuclear weapon.
Our intelligence community has followed this extremely closely. They did have a significant amount, about 1,000 pounds of 60% enriched uranium, which is not enriched enough to build a nuclear weapon.
Senator Jeff Merkley, a senior member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, warning while it's easy to get into war, it's very hard to get out.
And in addition, Israel had already said that it had done so much damage that it had set back the program in Iran for 2 to 3 years. So there was no urgency to act.
Iran vowed retaliation, but President Trump warned against that Saturday.
There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days.
Local Republicans like Congressman Cliff Bentz wrote in a statement he supports the president's decision, also stating this is likely not the end of this crisis. People against the U.S.'s involvement came out in Portland, Hillsborough, and Beaverton to protest.
To declare a war and to bomb Iran right now is, opening a can of worms that I think we're going to regret.
Protesters left angered, calling the president's move unconstitutional.
I totally respect the president's position in the Constitution as far as what the president's executive powers are. I have absolutely no respect for Donald J. Trump.
Celine Stevens.
There's tight security in the Netherlands today ahead of a summit of NATO leaders that begins tomorrow. President Donald Trump and his NATO counterparts will discuss a new defense spending pledge. Just a week ago, the NATO Secretary General had an optimistic view, but Spain rejected the new NATO target for each country to spend 5% of its gross domestic product on defense needs. The alliance operates on a consensus that it requires the backing of all 32 members. Take a look at the damage after a smash and grab at a U.S. bank. Someone used an excavator to rip out an ATM. This happened early this morning in Happy Valley, and officials tell us that the thief hit the ATM at the U.S. Bank on Southeast 117th and Southeast Sunnyside Road right there around 4 this morning. The thief got the excavator from a nearby construction site and then used it to rip out the ATM and steal money. Debris now scattered all across the parking lot. We reached out to the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office to get more information, but we have not heard back yet. An 8-year-old is in custody right now after police say he hit a pedestrian and then led officers on a chase. Police eventually used spike strips to stop the car southeast 162nd and Stark. You can see there's shredded tires right there on that Honda Civic. Police tell us that the pedestrian was not hurt and did not want to press charges. 18-year-old Demetrius Vaughn is still facing a felony and misdemeanor after the chase. Starting today, legal fireworks go on sale in Oregon. And today, the Oregon State Fire Marshal met with the media to remind people to be safe on the 4th of July. Fireworks like these ones are legal in Oregon, but if they explode or leave the ground, you're not allowed to set them off without a permit. Oregon has stricter rules than Washington. With dry vegetation and warm summer temperatures, doesn't take much to spark a fire.
Disasters can happen in your neighborhood, in parks, in your communities, and in your driveways. Every step of using fireworks before, during, and after comes with safety, and it comes with personal responsibility.
The fire marshal reminds people to have water ready when you light fireworks and make sure to keep the pets and kids away. And starting today, there's a burn ban in place for parts of Washington, Multnomah, Clackamas, and Yamhill counties. Fire officials typically put these in place once the hot summer weather arrives. The specifics vary by county, but the bans generally mean no recreational campfires, fire pits, burning yard debris, and agricultural burning. You can still use barbecues, smokers, or similar outdoor cooking appliances. And if you're using charcoal to cook, make sure the ashes are properly disposed of in a metal container, and make sure cigarettes, cigars, or other smoking objects are put out before you throw them away. The burn ban will remain in effect throughout the summer weather season. Rod Hill, we were talking about that this morning. It's kind of a blanket statement that happens same time every year, but not dependent on the weather we're seeing right now.
Pretty much, you know, so you think back, hey, this past weekend we could have had fires. Well, it was raining. That would have been tough. All right, the rain, I'll talk more about that coming up in my complete forecast, but we actually had some record rainfall come down. Right now, it's Monday, and it's really the first day since summer began that we're going to see warm temperatures in the afternoon. So we're all dry across Oregon and Washington. Cloudiness offshore will become more notable as we go through the day tomorrow, by the way. Right now, it's kind of clear to hazy. That's Lincoln City, Chinook Winds Casino Resort. Nice day everywhere, 60 degrees. It's been sunny all day over our state capital. Temperature down in Salem right now is warming up nicely as well. 71 degrees at noon. You folks definitely going to hit 80 today. Portland, we had that brief early cloudiness. It was clearing around 10 o'clock this morning. Now we're partly to mostly sunny for the remainder of today, and we're at 67, which is where I thought we'd be at noon. So we're on track to be 81 this afternoon. It was only 70 yesterday, and of course only in the 50s with the rain on Saturday. So enjoy the warmer weather on this Monday. Again, we'll talk those weekend rain totals we had, and of course have your 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit.
Thank you, Rod. Governor Tina Kotek declared a state of emergency in response to the Rowena fire burning in the gorge. Just over the weekend, Senator widened towards some of the areas destroyed by the fire. It's 99% contained right now, but has already burned about 3,700 acres, and the cause is still under investigation. On Friday, the governor's office said early assessments of the fire showed major damage to homes and businesses. Declaring a state of emergency allows the Oregon Fire Marshal to use more resources to assist local crews in Wasco County.